Okay, welcome to our demonstration and presentation today, building meaningful SaaS metrics on NetSuite's Analytics Warehouse. Today, we're going to show how users can leverage NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, or NSAW, to capture data from NetSuite ERP, business systems, and build really meaningful SaaS metrics day one with their implementation. My name is Stephen Wolf. I'm a managing partner and solution architect at Myers-Holum. I've been implementing NetSuite for about 10 years, and I really love and enjoy working with SaaS companies, implementing NetSuite for operations, accounting and finance, billing, to help them scale and realize their ultimate vision. We've got a quick safe harbor statement today that I'll let you take a pause on. And let's dive right in. So just to start off, what is the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse? NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is the only analytics platform built to work with NetSuite that brings together NetSuite ERP data out of the box and any other systems data to help identify patterns, insights for driving growth, and build just general business intelligence capabilities and use cases. So NSAW is now an add-on to NetSuite, and what it really is a fully featured data warehouse and analytics platform. It's capable of ingesting large volumes of data and running really fast and complex reporting, intricate and meaningful KPIs, and it even incorporates other competitive features such as machine learning forecasting tools. NSAW comprises both Oracle's ADW as well as Oracle's OAC, Oracle Analytics Cloud, and all of your NetSuite data is pre-integrated and comes with NSAW out of the box. For companies that are using third-party tools, such as other billing systems, CRMs, those applications can be connected into NSAW as well, so that we can look at a system's entire architecture or all of the applications that your company leverages all in one place. So today we're going to be focusing on SaaS metrics, a use case for NSAW that would be really just specific to SaaS companies that are in software as a service. And we've identified these categories of SaaS metrics from our client base. This is really what operators want to see, folks that are working in finance and accounting within a SaaS company or sales and marketing, but also maybe how to measure a business from an investor's point of view. So the audience for today's demo is, again, both your sales and finance, marketing teams, as well as your executive team, your development folks, your board, or your future investors. All of the metrics outlined here are part of Myers-Holum's pre-built SaaS metrics dashboard for NSAW. And we chose these metrics as the most important metrics that any SaaS company would want to use really on day one of their implementation. So we have growth, which is the starting point for measuring any SaaS company. Y'all are familiar with ARR, MRR Components, and CMGR. We also included retention. So we're going to spend time today in the demo looking at retention at a cohort level, because aside from growth, understanding retention is also vital to the health of a business. And retention qualifies our growth, and it delivers on that value proposition that SaaS has for its operators and owners. After retention and growth, we're going to take a quick look at sales efficiency. So how sustainable is our growth? Are we buying growth, or do we have effective and sustainable sales and marketing strategies? After that, we'll take a look at margin. So margin defines our product profitability, and it's common for us to also look at gross margins and LTV, which is our gross profit contribution net of our acquisition costs. Two areas that are in our SaaS metrics dashboard that we won't spend a lot of time on today are capital efficiency and engagement. But these are also incredibly important metrics that we've included, such as measuring our cash burn, our hype ratio for early stage companies. And for engagement metrics, this data can be integrated from your measurement tools, your applications directly, and those can be really helpful in order to forecast churn, retention, and potentially even growth. So a quick overview again of what we're going to show in the demo today. We are showing a NSAW instance that comes pre-connected out of the box with NetSuite. And all of the data in our demo set is being sourced directly from a NetSuite ERP instance that uses Suite Billing. In NSAW, we're going to look at all of those business intelligence, KPIs, dashboards that we just reviewed. And we'll also look at how those summary KPIs or data visualizations can be drilled down on to all the way down to the actual accounting details at the customer or the product level. So let's jump into the demo and start reviewing some of the SaaS metrics in NSAW. A note before I begin. All of the data we're reviewing today is coming directly from a NetSuite account using Suite Billing, which is NetSuite's own recurring billing engine. Because NSAW is a best-in-class system-agnostic BI tool, these same metrics and more can be generated for companies using other billing systems, whether they're third-party to NetSuite or even proprietary to your company. So at first glance, we have some simple SaaS KPIs. Here we can see a summary of revenue components such as new, recurring, and churn revenue, and as well as some operational details such as new customers and resurrected customers. We can also see rolled up sales and marketing expense here, which is brought in directly from NetSuite's general ledger. At any point in the demo today, I'm able to right-click into any summary value, such as recurring revenue for Q1 2022, and I can view the additional line-level detail that's coming from NetSuite, which is generating our reports. So by drilling down into that Q1 2022 revenue detail, I can see additional line-level detail, such as customer name, location, subscription start and end dates, and just other revenue components. For simplicity in this demo, we are simulating a SaaS company that sells a single product. But normally, I would view product level detail here as well. That could also include non-recurring sales items, such as hardware and professional services. So let's go back to our main dashboard and we'll start looking at some of the reports. So let's go to our sales summary. When defining the success of a growing SaaS company, it's often valuable to view the performance of subscriptions based on a start date cohort. As companies expand, the stickiness of our customers can be highly dependent on the onboarding experience and how quickly we're going to be attacking new customer accounts. A spike in potentially poorly qualified customer accounts could in some cases result in poor retention in the long term. So here we have some basic views of start date cohort performance, which we're going to continue to see throughout the demo today. Let's go on over now to recurring revenue. Sales growth, in this case, it's defined as revenue, is the best proof of success for any software company. NSAW makes it easy to quickly view historical and forecasted reporting outlining annual recurring revenue. The revenue outlined here is based on the revenue arrangements already posted in NetSuite. And in the bottom of the chart, it's helpful to look at the performance of our revenue growth with a 3-month moving average in the blue bar. And here we have a 6-month moving average in the pink line. So now that we're looking at recurring revenue, let's go over it and see CMGR. CMGR is compound monthly growth rate. Because growth in MRR, just month over month, doesn't give us the smoothest picture of our overall execution, using CMGR paints a better picture of performance over a longer time horizon. In this case, we built a dashboard showing a 6-month and a 12-month CMGR. Right now, we're showing a bit of an unfortunate contraction in our Q4 22 numbers, but that's likely just because we haven't booked those renewals yet. So now that we've taken a look at just a quick overview of CMGR, let's go over and look at some of our customer level information. So pretty critical to measuring our SaaS business is also understanding the components of monthly recurring revenue. In addition to product and service components, we're going to also want to understand how much of our MRR is retained, expansion, new sales, resurrected, contraction, or churn. Since we already saw revenue components at the dollar level in a previous slide, let's take a look at customer counts. Here I can see a quick view of over time of new, existing, churn, and resurrected customers. And I can also see here towards the bottom, customer concentration. Customer concentration here shows me that about 91% of our revenue in current active subscriptions is concentrated within the second highest tier of customers by subscription size. That's in dollars. And this is an interesting and pretty important metric, which in some cases could raise concerns about our exposure if those large accounts do happen to churn. So we've seen some of our customer components, customer counts, and concentration. We talked about churn a little bit. Now let's go look at some of our retention metrics. Really common metric for SaaS companies is net dollar retention. So I can see here a pretty high level graph coming again just from our subscription data in NetSuite, which is net dollar retention by subscription length. So this is our NDR for 1 month, 3 month, 6, and 12-month retention. Conversely, I can look at a detailed view of retention, again, by cohort in cohort dollar retention. So we came into cohort dollar retention. Let's just go ahead and we're going to adjust our date filters. I'm going to bring in some data from cohorts starting in 2020 as well. And now we can see in summary how long each cohort has lasted and the cumulative churn for each month of that cohort's existence or continued renewal of their subscriptions. Up here in the summary, we can kind of just see a total summed up detail, but down at the bottom, we're also showing cohort retention with some more detail month over month. If I go down to, let's say, as an example, October 21, I can see that October 21 has a much larger original total recurring revenue than most of the other months in my data set. So let's drill down actually into October 21. And let's see how each customer affected that cohort's performance. So I can just scroll now on the customer detail for cohort retention, and I can start to see if I scroll over to the right, where that churn is happening by customer, by month. Retention may also have a bit to do with our market fit. So let's take a look to see how ACV, or annual contract value, is trending. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to go look at annual contract value. So what annual contract value tells us is, are the bigger customers churning or the smaller ones? We definitely see that our annual contract value is trending up, and that's a clear trend, but our churn ACV down here looks pretty frequently to be higher than our actual recurring revenue or retained ACV. Drilling in now, let's say like March 22 is an example. I'm going to go ahead and drill down to the customer sales details here. We can see how there was really just one of those big customers in our highest concentrated bracket that churned on a $92,500 monthly revenue subscription. That's a significantly higher subscription value than pretty much any other active subscription in that time frame, and that's not particularly surprising. So far, we've seen some data around growth and retention, but how do we know if that growth is sustainable or not? So what software companies will typically do is they'll look at their sales and marketing expense and against their new ARR. Let's go over and do that. So this is a pretty simple graph that we have. We don't really have a lot of sales marketing expense demo data in our data set, but the most important thing for us to look at here is that are our new sales ARR exceeding our sales and marketing expense? And the demo data that we have, that looks great here for the most part. Typically, we can also look at new ACV versus CAC, or customer acquisition cost. While our demo data set with costs, again, is a bit misaligned, we do want to see that customer ACV is always greater than CAC. And that does look to be the case here for the most part in the timeframes, at least towards the left of the graph. Many operators are also really focused on CAC payback, or customer acquisition cost payback. So let's go over and take a look at that deck as well. CAC payback shows how many months it takes for a new customer to produce enough profit to pay back its allocated CAC, its allocated acquisition costs. We inserted a reference line here in blue indicating a minimum 12-month CAC payback. We can see here how a large spike in sales and marketing expense in January 2022 did result in a pretty quick spike in our CAC payback metric, taking it all the way up to 58 months. And finally, let's take a look at LTV, or customer or cohort lifetime value. So I'm going to go ahead and find that in my deck here. So LTV for most SaaS companies is defined as the total contribution to gross profit after acquisition costs of a customer. Or in the case of this graph, it's of the average customer across a cohort. In analyzing this graph, we can see that LTV is just greater than $0 off the bat. So we expanded our date range back to 2020 as well. And in this case, that means that I'm looking at cohorts with start dates at least 2020, January 2020 or earlier. And looking at the graph, since it's all above 0, what that means is that all of our cohorts are at a positive margin with, I guess, a pretty relatively quick CAC payback time frame. If I hover over the flat area of LTV to the right, where it's kind of just flattening out to a straight line, that leveling off here is indicating churn for those cohorts. So we can see how these are the first cohorts in our demo set originating in January or February 2020. And what that means is that those very early initial cohorts in our data set have fully churned. And that's going to just result in a forever flat LTV. However, if I look to the left side of the graph here, hovering over some of the more recent cohorts, we can see that they still have considerable runway, meaning that if we continue to resurrect customers or upsell into those cohorts or just retain those customers, that LTV can keep on growing forever. So now that we've seen just some of the meaningful metrics that NSAW can help produce to, help run a SaaS business, let's wrap up with some final notes back in the presentation. Okay, let's do a little recap on what you just saw in NSAW. So I'm just going to review quickly those metrics that we took a look at. We saw growth metrics, ARR, MRR. We saw components of MRR, both at the dollar level and by customer count. We saw compound monthly growth rate and customer concentration. For retention, we looked at net dollar retention. We looked at logo retention, sales efficiency. We looked at CAC, that CAC payback, our annual contract value, and some of that ACV churn. We looked at margins. So what's the LTV of a customer? And again, while we didn't see capital efficiency or engagement, those are within our standard dashboard for SaaS metrics, and very important for us to include those for most of our SaaS companies' implementation of their SaaS metrics capability. One aspect that we haven't talked about so far in the demo is that with SaaS metrics in NSAW, we can achieve continuity of this reporting of these KPIs on day one of a NetSuite go live. So typically when we're migrating ERP systems, it takes a while for us to migrate all of your historical data, especially at the customer or the product level, all of your open subscriptions, your billing data. And many companies, when migrating ERPs or moving over to NetSuite, will only choose to bring in trial balances at the summary level, and they won't necessarily want to bring into a new ERP or bring into NetSuite all of that detailed transactional detail going back 2, 3, 5, 7 years. But one of the big benefits of building a SaaS metrics dashboard in an end-to-end BI tool like NSAW is that it is far more feasible and really just a lot faster to migrate all of your legacy information from whatever legacy billing systems or legacy ERPs you're using before you come over to NetSuite. So while we only really would bring in financial summary information to NetSuite month-over-month trial balances at a go live, all of your detailed transactional data from your legacy systems can easily be integrated in or brought into NetSuite and then unioned with those NetSuite data tables, like your invoices, your revenue arrangements, your customer subscriptions going forward. And when we union that data together, it gives us the ability to report on those SaaS metrics on day one of your NetSuite go live. So, what we're really excited about also with SaaS Metrics is not that we can just build these beautiful, very meaningful dashboards that drill all the way down into the NetSuite transactional detail, but also for companies that are migrating over to NetSuite, or maybe even just continuing to use third-party billing systems outside of NetSuite, all of that data can be unioned together in NSAW, and we can achieve that full BI continuity when migrating ERPs. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the presentation today. If you have any questions, you can just reach out to us at Myers-Holum, and we are excited to see you all for the rest of the event here at SuiteWorld. And thanks again for your time.